Yes guys, so welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today's session is going to be posterior, so a bit of a fancy name for a pull day. So basically back, glutes, hamstrings. You could include calves in there, but my session yesterday was my quads adductor calf session, which was the last video that you saw. So we're sort of carrying on from that. And then the next video that you'll see is my next session, which is a push session. So sort of carrying through the sessions basically. Obviously just done my stretching like you saw in the last video. So I've got the stretches for my hip flexors, my femoral nerve, my glutes, piriformis, hips, mobility, lower back basically. Especially important for today because we have RDLs. My hip's been playing up a little bit since the last video, but it is what it is. We'll see how I get on today with the RDL. I can still get a decent stimulus, I know that, so I can still get on with it. But yeah, I won't make the intro too long. Obviously we'll chat all the way through. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, enjoy it. So we're doing a single arm pull down. There's loads of different variations that you could do as a single arm pull down. This one is a little bit more directly overhead, but we're still in some spinal extension. You don't want to be like here where the shoulder's going to then rotate. So still keeping our chest up, thinking to drag the elbow down as tight to the body as we can, like we would for any lat movement, because they wrap around the rib cage. So we don't want to be away from the rib cage. We want to be nice and tight to it. Very much like we'd want to be, tighter to the rib cage for a chest press. So how we set it up, you'll see either on Reese's set or my set again. So we're sat across to one side because it's immovable, the top cable. So we can't angle it, like for example on a Cybex Bravo, you could angle it across. So we have to angle our torsos and our bodies to get aligned with it how we want. Because otherwise, if you're sitting it normally, you're almost coming across the body a little bit too much. So we sit across to one side, it's almost directly above the shoulder joint, and then we just twist across into it so that we can keep that elbow nice and tight. First set, a little bit of a longer pause, 2-second pause on contraction just to challenge the shortened range a little bit more. Second set's a little bit more continuous, and it's just 2 sets on this. So I have 3 sets on here before I go into the hinge. Reason being, I need a lot more hamstring. So I can jump on here, I can get some really good contractions, I can get a lot out of the hamstring in that shortened range, which you're not going to get quite as much out of it obviously on like a hinge variation where you're more so loading the hamstrings in a lengthened position. You could argue that that could be a negative going into the hinge already pre-fatigued, but I actually find that I feel like I can get more out of my glutes and my hamstrings, which is what I'm trying to get out of a hip hinge. Obviously I'm going to get erector, I'm going to get trap, I'm going to get just full posterior chain, but I'm trying to get more out of my glutes and my hamstrings, just because again they're lagging body parts for me. To be fair, my whole posterior is anyway. And yeah, I just feel like I can also it almost means that it limits my loading capacity a little bit, which again can be seen as a negative in terms of total sort of mechanical tension, but what I'm thinking of instead is I'm actually able to stay tighter. I'm actually able to feel like I'm creating a stimulus through the musculature that I'm trying to, and I don't just feel like I'm moving weight from A to B, which as bodybuilders shouldn't really be the goal anyway. So all this being said, we'll see how the RDL goes. This might bite me on the arse, the RDL might go horrendously, but this is what I've been doing, and usually if my hip feels okay, the RDL has been going okay. So, I think I spoke about this before. Using a seat belt just to lock my hips back. Often, the limiting factor on a hamstring curl, same with like a leg extension, is going to be your ability to stabilise your hips. So a lot of the time, you'll see people moving maybe a lot more weight than they necessarily should be. And basically, a lot of it is coming through hip extension, spinal extension. So you'll see people doing a hamstring curl like this, and every rep they're extending at the hips, extending at the spine, using other musculature to help move the weight rather than just solely knee flexion, which is what the movement should be. It's a hamstring curl, so the goal is knee flexion. It's an isolation movement. The only joint in question should be the knee. So the hips are locked in with the seat belt or the makeshift seat belt, and I actually hold my hamstrings. You don't have to do that obviously, but yeah, I like to do that to help in terms of getting that internal connection with the hams. Again, they're a weaker body part for me. I often struggle with them. I have to get like the right setup and make sure it's a good hamstring curl. Me and Reece spoke about this the other day. Reece could do any hamstring curl, even if it's the worst hamstring curl in the world. We could do it with awful form, and he's like, oh, my hamstrings feel amazing. He gets an amazing connection. I'm the opposite. I have to make sure that I'm really, really focusing on it to actually get that internal feel. So yeah, that's why I'll have my hands on my my hamstrings all the way through. Tell you what, it's better than I thought it'd be. They've just got this, so it's a hoist hamstring curl, and obviously you move with the movement, so you get a bit seasick from it. But yeah, I'm not really a fan. Any hamstring curl that's got, so obviously this will be the pad on the back of your leg, but then the top pad, so like obviously on this one, you see the top pad is on my quad. With this one, it's on basically the top of your shin or on your patella tendon. As you get heavier on the load, as you get stronger, it never feels good. I've never experienced one that feels good. And also, again, similar to what I was just saying, like we need to be creating stability at the hips, really. So it'd be ideal if, like, for example, on this, if we had a pad here, but then a pad here, that'd be perfect, it'd be fully locked in. I'm obviously sort of almost replicating a pad with the belt. But yeah, it's okay, but I've literally done, what, 4 pins down. So I wouldn't really want to be putting much more load through my, my shin on it, to be fair.
Go on, Uncle. Easy. Go on him. Easy, mate. Good. Lovely. Solid. Yeah, good, mate. Yes. Good. Come on. Tight. Brace and go, mate. Brace and go. Come on. Yeah, good, good, good. Finish.
Not the best set. The RDL, I posted about it on Instagram not long ago. The RDL, I've never really got on very well with it. But for that reason, I want to keep doing it and getting better at it. I've almost just got to understand that, like, realistically, I'm not going to be doing anything impressive. Execution-wise is still an area that needs work. Stiff legs and deadlifts and things like that, you know, I've always been sound with. I took them out because of my hip, and then I re-implemented an RDL because range of motion's reduced. Generally, I'm not having to go from a position of no load to all load like you would on a deadlift, especially if you're doing a dead stop. So I thought it'd make sense. I'm going to still keep running with it, but yeah, it doesn't feel great. It's aggravating the hip, but I want to get better at it. So I am going to keep it in for now. But yeah, it's frustrating. The loading's embarrassing. The execution's embarrassing. But the only way to get better at it is by doing it. So I'm not just going to be like, oh, I can't do it, I'm shit at RDL, so I'm going to stop. I'm just going to keep doing it and getting better at it. Which I think a lot of people, if there's an exercise they don't perform very well or they're not very strong on, immediately you're not going to like it, because none of us like being shit at something. So people just run away from it. And then you see on stage people that have got no hamstrings, no glutes, a poor back, and you're like, oh, I wonder if they hinge. I wonder if they, you know, what they do on these movements. They don't do them, or you know, they claim that they can't do them, or whatever it may be. So I'm going to keep at it, and hopefully we'll get better at it. But it is frustrating. Feels like I'm just working through my right side, and like I have to adjust my feet when I'm in it because it feels like it's only my right side that's doing anything. That's RDL's done. Obviously I'm pausing it in the length and range to try and have more control over it, and I can't be like snappy or powerful through my hips just because I just don't feel like I have any control over it, and like it sends like a shooting pain all through my my hip and my glute on my left side. So I obviously adding that pause for a bit more control. Again, that means the loading comes down. It's frustrating, but like I say, I need to get better at it. some way. Obviously there's a certain point to where if it's just battering my hip and I'm just getting injured week after week after week, I'm not just going to keep doing it for the sake of it, but I do feel like I can keep it in and work on my hip outside of it. So
Go on.
3,
Yes.
2,
Yep. Up. Go on. Good, mate. Nice. Solid, mate. Good reps. Yeah, good. Solid, man. Good. Nice, mate. Good. Really good. Come on. Yeah, good. Solid. Easy. Good. Come on. Yeah. Good. And again. Come on. Here we go. Here we go. So you with me? Solid. Come on. Stay on this. Yeah. Lovely. In. Good. And again. And again. Come on. Yes. Good. Oh. Yeah, buddy, drop set.
huh?
Yeah, buddy, drop set.
Nah, it's alright, mate. If we do a yeah buddy drop set, we can't do the yeah buddy partials or the yeah buddy force reps.
So what? We've got yeah, buddy forced, yeah, buddy partial.
They were yeah buddy force reps.
You can only pick what? 2.
So 3 sets on the hammer strength low row. Obviously made an upper back focus, like rhomboids and traps primarily, especially traps because of how it's set up. So you sort of your scapula is elevating as you retract. So we do 3 sets because it's. So if I say it's not demanding, I'm like battered. It is a demanding row, but it's not like it's as demanding as like a yeah buddy row, for example. We've got the chest support, we've got the stability from the machine, so you can generally get away with a little bit more volume on something that's
A few yeah buddies towards the end.
not going to be essentially demanding as like say like a non-supported row, let's say. But yeah, the 3rd set we will generally do either partial reps, so there's no harm in working through that lengthened range, especially on a back movement, especially on a row movement. We're a lot stronger in the lengthened portion, so you might as well get a few more reps out of it, even if they're just partial reps, especially on the final set, so you're not creating too much fatigue on the first set that's then going to probably impact the 2nd and 3rd. Or, so if you've got a training partner, you can get them to give you some force reps, so you can work through that lengthened range and they can help you get those final few reps short. So you've got yeah buddy partials or yeah buddy force reps, depending on whether or not you've got a training partner. We today did yeah buddy force reps.
Yeah.
You could also even do a yeah buddy drop set.
What's the yeah buddy drop set?
Wanted to. It's basically like just what we did, and then you drop it.
Okay.
And then you still do the yeah buddy force reps at the end, or yeah buddy partials if you're on your own.
Fair enough.
And then you basically just crash, go to bed, and then you realise that you're actually just creating loads of fatigue and 0 stimulus, and you never grow. It's usually what we do.
Yeah.
Fatigue over stimulus. That's our saying, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Good. Come on, football there. Yeah, lovely. Good. Good. Solid. Good man. That was some yeah buddy.
Yeah, buddy single arm cable rows.
Yeah. Did some yeah buddy intensifiers there. Solid. Good mate. Brother. Come on. Good. Solid, good. Come on, keep on going, mate. Yes. Good. Yep. Good. Come on. Good. Problem.
Oh, so 2 sets, single arm row, more mid to upper lat dominant in this plane of motion. Again, elbow really tight to the body. Don't want any scapular movement, so we're keeping, you see I'm sort of laterally flexing a little bit, so crunching over to one side. That's to help me keep this shoulder in position. So I'm keeping this shoulder back and down, and I'm just doing this. I'm not doing this. There's no rotation through the torso, there's no scapular movement, and that's because the lats insert up here. They don't insert on the shoulder blade, so there's no need to move the shoulder blade. I'm just moving through the humerus, keeping the elbow tight to the body. You could do this, you've probably seen on my videos before, you can do it set up in a different way, you can do it more across the body, that's going to be a bit more thoracic focused. But generally, as I always say to my clients, the most important thing is, can you actually feel your lats working? Are you actually getting a good lat connection? And if you are, then generally that's the most important thing really. So guys, more hamstrings. Again, because my hamstrings are very poor. So basically I'm doing a single leg variation after doing the dual leg earlier. And this is going to be a bit more focused on the length and range by sitting forward more. So the more that I sit forward in the machine, the more hip flexion that I'm in, so the greater degree of hip flexion. So already I'm lengthening the hamstrings more by sitting forward. Not hunching over like this, because this isn't going to do anything to my hips. I need to be sat forward like so. And yeah, this generally feels really nice, to be fair. Obviously, like I say, it's just a variation from what I was doing earlier. Single leg. I could do this dual leg, to be fair, but I get a real good connection doing it single leg, especially at this point in the session when hamstrings are already quite fatigued. Another good sort of little tip is that most hamstring curls are going to have this counterweight here. So if you're training on your own, you can pretty much self-spot using that. So like getting into this is a little bit awkward with it being single leg. So I'll push up against the counterweight and I can push my hand against that to let myself get locked in. And also if you're starting to fail, you can give yourself that little bit of help as like a self-spot. So, you know what's very frustrating? I bought a lunar pad from 1MR, and the guy that owns this gym was like, oh, where'd you get that from? What's it for? And I told him and everything, and then within like that next week he bought like 3 of these ones from MirrorFit, and I only do a hip thrust in this session, so I just wasted like 35 quid. Not ideal. Narrower feels a bit better for my hip. My poor little hips. Having to use a jumper as well. Being a bit of a pussy, but because I'm just so lean now, it really hurts my hips. 3.
Yep.
2.
Yes.
1.
Yep. Go on then. Good. Good. Lovely. Solid. Good, mate. Good. Yep. Good. Come on. Keep them going, mate. Yeah, lovely. Good. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Yes. Come on, keep them going, mate. Yep, good. Yes. Good, finish them off.
Nearly died.
Oh, bounced.
Nearly died.
Pete got a great angle.
Paid him extra for my OnlyFans secret account.
Very lucky.
Who's not supposed to know about it? Oh, that felt really good actually. It's quite nice. I was saying to Pete before we were filming, I've been doing the booty builder for the last like 3-4 weeks because this hasn't been feeling very good. And the booty builders felt good. I wanted to reintroduce this. Main reason being, I don't really want to do an exercise called the booty builder, as sad as that is. I can do it, but I just don't like the name of it. I think it makes me feel like I don't know. Probably not. I shouldn't say what I'm thinking, but it just makes me feel like a twat. I'll do the booty builder. I'm not going to write booty builder in my program. Hip extension machine, all right. Oh, right, abs. Then we're done. So abs are a body part that, to be fair, a lot of people quite struggle to either connect with or understand the actual function of the abs. So a lot of people will do an ab crunch like this. And basically all they're doing is they're just working through hip flexion. So they're just pushing their hips back and their actual torso stays neutral, their spine stays neutral. But the primary function of the abs is actual spinal flexion. So this. So you actually need to be curling your spine, thinking to like curve your ribs down towards your hips, or vice versa. If you were to do like a hanging knee raise or lying knee raise or any kind of variation where the lower's coming upward, it's the same thing, it's the same concept. Spinal flexion just from lower to upper or from upper to lower. But a lot of people struggle, the same with like leg raises. People just end up training their hip flexors. They're just doing this. They're not actually curling up through the hips, coming up, because it's hard. It is very hard doing a leg raise, to be fair.
Where's your lat, bro? I don't know, mate. Missing in action, mate. Very high insertion. Like it comes up and you see it just like pop up here.
Get off me.
Right.
This guy. Right, as if it's his fucking outro.
See you later, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully everyone has enjoyed.
Yeah, what you said. Thank you all. I appreciate anybody who is watching. Please like and subscribe. Please comment. Please share on your stories if you are watching. We do appreciate the story tags, especially the podcast as well.
Yes.
Also, if you haven't given us a rating on the podcast yet on Spotify, please give us a rating. We're closing on 200 ratings.
I thought you said we had 200.
No, we're closing in on 200, which is actually pretty good. So, yeah, please give us a rating on Spotify. If you haven't listened to the podcast, then we upload on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well.
Yeah.
All of your usual listening platforms. So yeah, make sure you listen to the podcast. It's way better than these videos. Podcast is good.
Yeah, yeah.
These videos, I mean,
it depends how good Pete is, to be fair.
See how Pete gets on with this one. But the podcast is just chilled.
Yeah.
These are usually obviously training and a bit more informative. Obviously we do talk about informative stuff on the podcast, but it's just us having a chat, getting guests on, or just us two chatting and answering listener questions. If you want to ask questions, ask them on the questions box. We upload it on a Thursday on our Instagram stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the podcast plugged. Pete's information will be in the caption or in the description. So check out Pete's stuff. Reese, you all know Reese is so famous now on TikTok.
Yeah.
Reese, we'll leave it there. Reese Fit the TikToker, that's how he's known now.
Yep. Cool.
So yeah, thanks guys.
See you later.
Catch you in the next one.